We are on the cusp of India's independence, the 15th of August. This is a great time for us to evaluate our own financial independence. That's what we're going to explore in today's episode. Financial independence has a variety of different forms, and one of the forms we're going to look at is called FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. Now, this derives from a book that happened in the early 90s by Vicky Robin and Joe Dominics, who wrote Money or Your Life. This book explores the concept that you don't need to work all your life to create a retirement corpus well into your old age where you don't have time to enjoy your money, but essentially you work for very few years, but you save up a lot more money so that you can enjoy a reasonably long retired life. That's really the concept of this book. There are three very important components of FIRE. The first component is that you need to plan, detailed plan as to what you will need to live with in the long term. And it involves a certain amount of frugality in the way in which you approach. So you're not planning for a big expense down the line, you're trying to be more frugal and hopefully trying to live within a certain means after you retire. Second, it involves a bumper investment. Typically, a FIRE plan will have anywhere between 50 to 70% of your earnings going away into savings or investment. That's the only way in which you can create a large corpus in a short working life. Third, that by creating this corpus and drawing less than 3 or 4% year on year, you can perpetually sustain the corpus in the long term. So the idea is that the amount that you're going to draw out of this corpus over long periods of time is going to be 3 or 4% and not more. Now, these are the components of very successful FIRE system, financial independence and retire early system. Millennials seem to love this concept. They are people who don't have that view that they want to retire at the age of 65. They want to retire tomorrow if possible. And FIRE fits brilliantly with them. There are also a few variants to the whole formula of FIRE. There is something called a fat FIRE. Now, the fat FIRE looks at somebody who does not want to compromise, does not believe in frugality. So he's essentially saying, I'm going to live a good life. I want to continue to live a good life. So I need a larger corpus. So he's already somebody who's earning a reasonably good amount of money. So he's going to put a larger amount of his already good savings and then create a large corpus in a reasonably short period of time. That's really what we call a fat FIRE. You also have something which is called a lean FIRE. Somebody who goes to extreme frugality, extreme minimalism to make sure that they can retire at the earliest possible juncture, even by contributing much lesser amount. That's called a lean FIRE. Somebody who is almost like a monk post-retirement is what a lean FIRE is. And there is something called a Barista, which is a combination of lean and fat. What the Barista does is it's planning for a much frugal living, but they also believe that they're going to supplement income at that point in time by doing something out of their spare time. So typically these people will retire early, but will not do a 9 to 5 thereafter, but may do some consulting in their spare time on areas that they love, thereby earning a little bit more money. So that's what you call a Barista FIRE. Now, these are the three different variants of the financial independence and retire early. Who is a FIRE for? So typically, people believe that FIRE or financial independence is only for those rich guys. It's not true. Anyone can follow a plan by which one can create financial independence for themselves. over a period of time. All it involves is planning and a good execution. As the author says, FIRE is not about just retiring early, it's also about judiciously picking up what is your exact need for consumption and doing it judiciously. We buy a lot of things that we actually don't need. FIRE will actually bring discipline in how you make your choices. Now, there are three very important ways in which you can achieve financial independence. First is a detailed plan. Very, very important to have a retirement plan in place. Unfortunately, as many surveys have proven, including the Pigeon recent survey, shows that a vast majority of population does not have an idea about their own retirement. They go about their daily life in wishful hope. If you want to have financial independence, you must have a rock solid plan in place, a detailed plan, and you must have the discipline to follow through on that plan. That's extremely important. Second, you must be able to save a substantial amount of your money that you do, which means that you must adopt a certain amount of frugality in your approach and follow through on the budget that you've kept for yourself. A larger chunk of your money must go to investing for future. Third, you must collect the monies that you have saved up and invest them judiciously so that it creates the corpus that you need to retire early. These three components, if executed well, will help you retire early. Definitely. That's really the idea. Now, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind when you create your FIRE plan. First, ensure that you embody the spirit of making sure that there is no money lying around. All your money to the last pie needs to work towards earning a return for you. So make sure that you are judicious about using funds. Second, you don't have large loans, you don't take credit card, ideally don't use a credit card. If you use, make sure that you keep it in control. Third, you will have a budget and you have to follow the budget to the T. Extremely important to make sure that you follow it to a system. FIRE also involves that you have a career plan and you follow through on your career. Your career will determine to a large extent whether you can or you cannot retire early. Next, ensure you have suitable insurance in place. Very, very important, especially if you have some exigency. Both life and health insurance will be a great succor to make sure that your plan does not get derailed because of an event. Have an emergency fund in place so that if there are unforeseen emergencies, you have enough funds to take care. The retirement funds need not come to the rescue. These are all some of the points if you follow through. Apart from the three main steps, I'm sure you will have a great plan in place. And if you follow through on the plan, you could just be able to retire early. But FIRE also has a few pitfalls, disadvantages in my reckoning. One, and the most important, is that as we age, as we become into our 50s, that's really when we see a lot of people at the peak of their game. Their knowledge is at the topmost, their experience at the topmost. They command the best fees or compensation at that time. Now, typically, retire early guys are retired at that point in time, in their 40s and so on and so forth. So they never get to really get paid top dollar in that sense if they were in the corporate world. So you tend to lose that extra advantage that flows to people in that age profile. I don't know if that's still true for millennials, but in the traditional world that continues to play a role. Second is any unforeseen rise in costs due to inflation or any other external events can badly set you back. in terms of your planning. People who are in this space are so frugal that they're living for tomorrow, not living today. So they're really kind of foregoing a lot today so that they can be financially independent tomorrow. I don't know if all of that is needed. You need to have a good life even today. Every day matters. So those things sometimes come in the way. There is always a possibility that the investment plan that you choose does not work according to the plan. So it would extend your life by a couple of more years. So that's again one more thing. People who use FIRE tend to have a very fixed mindset. They want to achieve it at all cost. Sometimes they are not open to the idea of change, and that can narrow their whole approach. A thinking of abundance gets lost when you adopt a very frugal mindset that can impact the way you think and you perform, not just in financial parlance, in all aspects as well. So there are obvious pitfalls as well in going with a financially independent and retiring early kind of an option. But if you're somebody who is aware of all this and yet would like to engage in this, it's not a bad idea. Go for it.